Good morning. Here you can see most of the roses that grow in my garden. I cut them a couple of weeks ago before going away on my holiday. Today I'm going to show you which of them performed the best for me this year. When choosing the best rose, I was looking at both flowering and disease resistance. So to start with, one of the roses that did really well for me this year is Lady of Shallot. 2 years in my garden now. And I chose this one because it was very consistent with flowering. All the flushes were equally good, and this rose has very little been out of flower for me this year. Also, when it comes to blackspot, it did really well fighting it off compared to other David Austin roses in my garden, and lots of my David Austin roses I had to defoliate quite heavily. You can see it shot out some canes, but then because I want to grow it as a shrub, I'm going to cut them off. I just wanted to show you what happens to this rose. Here I've got it planted next to Renę Gościnny. It's a new melon rose in my garden this year. And then I've got it here planted next to Madame Anisette. It's a Kordes rose. Also, it is a rose that did really well for me this year. You can see lots of flowers on this rose, and I stopped deadheading it like many other roses in my garden, just to see which of them can actually produce some nice hips for the winter. It shot out really tall for me this year, but only because I didn't prune it properly at the beginning of the season. And then you can see some leaves are a bit tired, but those are actually the leaves from last year, because I also didn't defoliate it properly at the beginning of February. But then when it comes to disease resistance and also the flowering, this rose really impressed me this year. So it's a Kordes rose, and it really well for me this year. Now, another rose that impressed me a lot is the Generous Gardener from David Austin. You can see quite healthy rose, and again some leaves at the bottom, they look a bit tired, but those are again leaves from the last year. I did not defoliate this plant also at the beginning of the season. Flowers, beautiful. They don't last very long, but this is a very tall plant. I would say more than 3 meters now, and it is very healthy, and also flowered beautifully for me this year. So I would say, compared to other David Austin roses, Lady of Shallot and Generous Gardener did the best for me this year. Now, the rest of the roses that I am really impressed with are all Kordes roses. Here you can see Spicy Perfuma. It is very healthy with some flowers, but it wouldn't be my favorite this year because it didn't have many flowers to start the season especially. So I would like to see more flowers on this shrub. And the same goes for Bliss Perfuma, very healthy rose. With some flowers. However, the first flush was not very good. But then I would say, when it comes to have those two roses, really good. Still, especially when you think it's next to Eustacia Vi, which you can see some blackspot already coming up, and it's next to another rose, Crimson Cascade, which I had to defoliate completely with lots of blackspot. And Spicy Perfuma also was next to Wollerton Old Hall, which I had to defoliate. So I'm thinking those two roses grown so closely to other roses that were hit so heavily with blackspot, they did really well fighting this off. And the last rose I wanted to show you is Delightful Perfuma, also Kordes rose. Did really well for me this year, also quite healthy, especially that it was close to Olivia Rose Austin, which I had to defoliate quite heavily. And yeah, flowers still on this plant with lots of buds. Yeah, so those would be my favorite roses this year. I would say all the Kordes roses I've got in my garden, they did really well when it comes to health. Not all of them did very well when it comes to flowering, like Bliss Perfuma, Spicy Perfuma, Champagne Moment, really healthy but not too many flowers this year on it, still a young plant. And the two roses that I was really impressed would be from David Austin, also Lady of Shallot and the Generous Gardener.